We are on episode 272, doing this on a Tuesday evening here in Perth. Nolsey's with me, of course.
Hello.
How's the AI experimenting going?
I've been making horrific shit, and I've been amusing myself doing it.
Does it cost much to do that? Are you paying?
I am, but not the model that I use. It's like basically like a $1.20 for like a 12-second video for me.
Okay, because I did read that like rendering videos is very expensive for those, generative AI companies.
Yeah, no, I'm making the most out of the Sora one. Now they're getting rid of they're saying it's necessarily the expense. All these AI companies are massively fucking expensive. But I think it's just one of those costs that, like, World Globo Homo is kind of willing just to fucking deal with.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's there's a term for this. It's called enshittification. Have you heard of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the term was founded by a Jew, but it's very true. Like, we're moving into the phase now where, they had been running at a loss previously, but they've roped in an audience while doing that. So then what they're going to do is start, putting prices where there were none before, or putting prices up generally. And some people will drop out, but a sizable portion of that audience will stay and continue to use the service under a paid subscription. And that then is how, over the long term, they're able to make money. And there's a lot of products out there that have followed that kind of trajectory. Like, one of my favorite examples is the Xbox. The very first Xbox, that ran at a loss for Microsoft. But they pulled the audience in, and then when they did the next one, which was it, a 360, I think? I can't remember.
Yeah, 360.
Whatever the next console was, then they started to actually turn a profit because they had that market then. And that also shows like how incredibly difficult it is to, say, get into a market like that. Like,
oh yeah, you basically have to be a mega corporation to begin with.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I'm using Sora right now, or Sora 2, or more specifically Sora 2 Pro, just because they're getting rid of it. And that's because people say that this is a joke. I swear to God, they're getting rid of it because of fucking Emily Eucas's Will Stancil show.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. I don't think I've watched it before.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, it literally was like one of the first, like, TV length, like AI animation assisted productions, and obviously it's done by Emily Eucas, so it's like incredibly fucking deranged. But yeah, there's too many spicy things targeting a group of special boys in there. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm certainly not going to be owning some billionaire mega corporation at all. My fuel prices continue to go up. The price of everything continues to go up. I'm like, some people, are more screwed by this than others. I have to drive around a lot for the work that I do. So, I was one of those people. I have to fill up my tank every week. Most other people do it like every 2 or 3 weeks. I have to do it every week. So someone like me, feel sorry for me because my costs have just gone through the fucking roof. But anyway, Albo has been darting around Asia to talk about fuel supply to Australia. I believe it is Malaysia and Singapore where we import most of our fuel from.
It's like a third of our diesel comes from Malaysia.
Yeah, and even then, like, those countries don't produce it, do they? They just sort of the middlemen.
Yeah, they refine. Basically, they refine and fucking pack it up and then put it on a ship, if there's any refining left to do, really. Because a lot of the stuff out of mainland China and that kind of like central Eurasian fucking oil basin. It's the Alberta of this side of the world. So we got they've got inland oil there. So that's where it comes from. So, but the problem is, even there, they're like, well, actually, we need to concentrate on having our own supplies too, because East Coast China, the industrial East Coast, it actually has contracts for oil with American suppliers who are, also currently deciding, yeah, no, we're just going to suit our own domestic market and maybe South America.
Yeah, I don't see why we can't do that. Well, actually, no, I can. I mean,
yeah, we know.
we incentivize our producers to sell it, and we don't actually open up enough resource exploration in this country to be self-sufficient, even though we could be. Now, look, not to worry. Singapore is saying that they're making every effort to make sure Australia's fuel supply needs are met. I don't know about that, considering it doesn't even look like they can meet their own. Well, look, let's just talk about Trump for a second. Everyone's seen these posts. He's putting out, like, he's attacking the Pope. He's putting out pictures of him as Jesus. Now, even before all of that, Anthony Albanese was saying that Trump's recent rhetoric is not appropriate. That was the term that he used. Yeah, I mean, sending out a post on Easter with swearing in it and saying praise be to Allah.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked.
It's hard to imagine.
I'm going to destroy an entire civilization.
That one as well. Yep.
Man, you're sounding like a fucking Saturday cartoon villain, man. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And I mean, look, all the things he was accusing Joe Biden of in terms of his mental faculties, it seems like Trump is now just sort of going through that stage. And if so, that means Trump is actually going through it at a younger age than Biden. Biden was already like 81 or so when, he became that doddering fool. Trump's only 79. I think he turns 80 soon. But at the very least, we can say that, he's probably not going to run for a third term. And by the way, he can run for a third term. I've heard a lot of people say he can't. No, the Constitution says that you can't have 2 consecutive terms as president.
Yep.
Remember, he wasn't in the last term, so he could actually run again. But I don't think he will. Because, well, even his traditional allies around the world are concerned here. Even our own Liberal Party has been saying that...
what the fuck, man?
What are we doing? I mean, you have idiots like Tony Abbott saying the opposite, but the actual sitting government, opposition, are not too crash hot on this. I mean, look what Andrew Hastie said. I mean, he did the usual line of, I'm definitely going to choose liberal democracies over an Islamic authoritarian regime. But at the same time, he didn't see any need for any further Australian assistance. And, it has been minimal so far. But now, of course, we've got this blockade going on. Now, of course, Iran have been essentially operating the Strait of Hormuz as a toll booth.
Yep.
I've heard figures of like over $2 million American is like the fee to have ships pass by. So in response to that, we've got this American blockade basically designed so that Iran can't do that anymore, so that they can't charge a toll.
Well, talking about fucking Trump's rhetoric, he said like he would literally like blow the hell out of any ship that was found to have paid the fucking ransom.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, but that doesn't surprise me at all. And a lot of people put out like parody posts from Trump. I can't tell the difference anymore. I mean that honestly. Like when I see one that's a joke, I I'm genuinely not sure if it's a joke or he actually said it. Uh,
Actually,
because that one where he said, open the fucking Strait, I assumed that was a joke. I did not believe that was real when I first saw it.
well, yeah, no, fair enough, man. But like, yeah, no, like, actually, $2 million as a ransom to pass the Strait of Hormuz is actually pretty reasonable considering that I just looked it up. The total value of oil in your typical oil tanker, VLCC, which is like the acronym for it, is between 100 million and 300 million.
Hmm.
So that's reasonable. That's
Yeah,
not like a king's ransom.
But if we have this blockade, that of course means that no ships will be able to go through, or at least that's what we're being told. So Iran is now talking about a further blockade in the Red Sea, which of course is another crucial choke point in terms of oil exploitation. So basically, it looks like this is going to get even worse. And this war that we were told was only going to last like a week or two is in its second month. And I've heard some commentators now saying that it probably won't wrap up until about mid-year.
Oh, fuck. Dude, the economy over here is going to come to a fucking standstill, man.
Yeah. I mean, and we've got stories on that, of course. But look, I mean, I guess if there's a white pill to any of this, I do think now that the traditional alliances that the Jews have formed on both sides of politics, the left and the right, is starting to diminish. Have you noticed that now the left is actually not afraid to say that Israel is controlling America? Have you noticed this?
Yeah, no, I've seen that rhetoric pop up, and they should be careful. They should be fucking careful.
Yeah, but this is something I've only noticed very recently because remember that the argument from the left that you would always hear from people like Chomsky and John Pilger was that no, America controls Israel, and Israel acts as America's deputy sheriff in the Middle East. It's a ridiculous argument, but nonetheless, that is what the left would always trot out. Always.
Yeah, I mean, Chomsky's ethno protecting bullshit rhetoric. Yeah, like that was literally just the mainstream for what, since the 90s?
Decades. Yeah, decades. And that's changing now. It's really genuinely changing. I mean, look at the stuff they say on the Young Turks, for example. I even heard Professor Dave saying it not too long ago. It's amazing. And then, of course, on the other side, the conservative right, you've got people like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, etc. And, the conservative right was where you found the most fanatical Zionist Israel supporters, Basically, the entire mainstream conservative right was like that. Now that's changed as well. And I think...
I remember in fucking 2020, this is like just before the lockdowns happened, that you had the ADL and all these like think tanks, Israeli think tanks, being like, dude, we are going to lose the American right, and the American left is like, we have to make these dumb fucking cope narratives to keep them on board.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't think that this kind of turnaround would happen so quickly, but maybe this was like Hamas's goal the whole time, because what they did on October 7, 2023, and the subsequent reaction from Israel has made so many people around the world question the Jewish state. Even if they're not questioning the Jewish people, they're certainly questioning Israel. And I didn't expect to kind of see this. I thought I would be an old man by the time things started to change. But yeah, we're seeing it before our eyes.
Well, again, like if you were going to fight the state of Israel, it's fucking as a fledgling Arab nation, it would right now it would be impossible. Right now it would be impossible, and that's because every single part of Israel's like current power is funded entirely backed by the Western military industrial complex. If you get rid of Western support and you actually have these long marches through politics of like, yeah, we're not going to have like these major fanatics, yeah, we're not going to have bribery schemes or honeypot schemes, or maybe basically that because of Epstein is now just a fucking family home name. Like they could lose that, and if they lose that, Israel is literally just a pissant state. It would be a fucking like completely unimportant country if it was anything else but.
Yeah, and then you would get 110, I think.
Oh yeah.
That's what Ryan Dawson has been saying anyway, and yeah, he kind of said the same as me. Like he didn't expect to see all of this so quickly, but it's great to see now. So anyway, Richard Marles, who is our defence minister, he says that Australia is continuing to partake in the talks to take to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Well, okay, obviously those talks are not very fruitful at the moment, considering America will be blockading it. And also, I can't even tell. Do we have a ceasefire right now? And
no.
If so, is it a ceasefire that applies to Lebanon?
No, and we had a ceasefire, and guess what fucking Israel did in the first 30 fucking minutes of the ceasefire?
Yeah, they killed over 300 people in Beirut.
Yeah. They're like, well, it wasn't you, Iran. It's fine. It's like, dude, are you fucking retarded? Oh, wait. No, you're just bloodthirsty.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was. So, look, Australia continues to play, like, basically a pitiful role in these talks. No one cares about us. No one cares about most of the other countries participating in this. And yet, at the same time, Trump thinks that we should be contributing military personnel to all of this, which is just ridiculous. So the government has also started this advertising campaign, and it's about saving fuel. So they're talking about things like carrying a lighter load in your car, checking the tire pressure, driving slower, all those kind of things. Really, these are things that I thought everyone knew. I guess maybe there's some who don't. But this campaign is costing $20 million.
Yep, and it was the most cringe fucking advertisement I've seen in my entire life, but I've never seen a cool government advertisement, in all fairness.
I actually haven't seen it. I've only read about it.
It's horrific. No, it's not horrific. I'll be fair. It's not horrific. It's just like Burger King Kids Club, and it's just like, look at all this. Da, 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 da.
Oh, look, those government
downgrade your life.
They get like actors who are like, unemployed, basically, and they're just they'll jump at anything, any gig they get.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I think Hillel Newman has finally left Australia. He's Israel's ambassador to Australia, born in South Africa. Now, he said some very interesting things in an interview with David Spears from the ABC. He said that Israel did not expect Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz if they were attacked by Israel and the United States. He also said that Israel was not expecting Iran's retaliation against Gulf countries, such as the UAE and Qatar, etc.
What?
Does anyone believe him there?
No.
How can anyone take that seriously?
No.
You mean like only way? Like basically the two only ways Iran can strike back, the two only ways they can retaliate and you're saying you didn't expect either of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say like what the fuck were you expecting? But then again, just remind yourself this dude's in like a diplomatically impossible position.
Yeah, he is, and I really hope we get to the stage where we actually expel him from Australia. That would be glorious. Okay, now we've got another mine that's shut down because of all of this as well. So this is the Nathan River Resources mine. Now, unions are really unhappy because they say many of the workers actually haven't been paid in weeks. The company is saying that they simply have run out and they have put the whole blame on high fuel prices. Now, considering it's gone on for a few weeks, though, I'm not sure if it's entirely the fuel crisis. I suspect there's other influences there as well. So I don't know, but
I know that Rio Tinto basically liquidated their staff recently.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh man, no, it's not good. So, Matt Canavan. So he's been doing a fair bit of media recently, and to his credit, his rhetoric now is pretty much the same as what it was when he was on the backbench. Of course, a lot of people predicted that once he became the leader, he would be willing to compromise on certain areas of policy. So far, it doesn't actually seem like that. Now, he did say that Australia's biggest banks are failing to provide basic financial assistance to companies that are involved in oil, coal, and gas. He's basically saying that, Australians are reliant on these industries. They need to be financed in some way. Now, he didn't say this, but the way he was talking about this, he was basically suggesting, I think, that the government should maybe step in here. Now, I think that is, economic moral hazard, as they call it. We had the too big to fail thing during the GFC in America. It reminds me a little bit too much of that. But still, a leader of the Nationals taking a shot at the banks, that doesn't really happen. Not much.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where this actually goes. Because rhetoric's one thing.
So you said this. You said a couple of weeks ago, one businessman told us that he was denied a bank account when he sought to build a diesel refinery in Gladstone in 2018. So obviously that is before the fuel crisis.
Yes.
So, he's not just talking about the current circumstances here. And I think one of the reasons why the banks would deny such an account or a loan is because they know that many of those projects may not actually get off the ground or they get stalled because of the environmental lawfare that always goes on.
Well, yeah, wasn't it around about 2018 that those guys sued successfully and then managed to get this it was like a coal power plant shut down?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been a few of them. Sadly, they have actually been quite successful through the courts, and sometimes they don't get the project cancelled, but they stall it for years and years because they keep making new submissions that the minister has to review, and so things just drag on and on. That would obviously have a big influence in banks' willingness to give out a loan, because they're going to think, okay, I don't know if your project is actually going to function, so you might lack the money, therefore, to pay the loan back.
Oh, well. And then what are you left with? A whole bunch of screaming hippies and a half-finished refinery?
Yeah. Okay, so just quickly on our defense situation. So Vice Admiral Mark Hammond, he's been appointed as the chief of the ADF. And we also have Lieutenant General Susan Coyle,
Mm.
who's going to be the first ever female military service chief in Australia. Um, so yeah, we're going for ample leadership for females in the ADF and also police, because we have that new federal police commissioner.
Who would you trust more, a female military leader or me after a few cocktails? It's like, buddy, I'll trust you in a heavy dose of fentanyl.
Oh God. And last thing, apparently, billions of dollars is going to be redirected towards making or funding drone warfare in Australia. So the government has said that the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East have highlighted the increasing role of drones in warfare. So Richard Marles is going to be releasing a national defense strategy and the integrated investment program this week on Thursday. So, and also I imagine there'll be more updates on that in the May budget with Jim Chalmers. All right. So look, let's just briefly talk about Ben Robert Smith. Well, look, to kick this off, I don't know, Knowlesy, do you have an opinion here, like on his arrest? Like, do you think he should have been arrested? What do you make of it?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. He probably did. He probably did exactly what he was accused of. But like, yeah, that's what you expect, unfortunately. Like, the SASR. I've got family friends who are SASR. And yeah, dude, they're just so shit past, man. The government is completely aware of what they're about.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I guess that is sort of the kind of person that you need to deploy in operations like that. Um, Look,
We've said the same thing over and over again. It's just like, well, there's nothing, like political strategic for us. There's nothing really to be gained by defending him. But if you're like a guy who's interested in statecraft and a guy who was interested in like making this country a stronger, more self-proud place, then yeah, this is a dumb fucking move. If you're like a Globo Homo supporter, then this is also a dumb fucking move because you just got one of the most decorated war heroes of this nation, and you're fucking pillaring him.
right now, look, a lot of our guys have, been behind him. They're backing him. We mentioned last week that Joel Davis publicly supported him outside of court, while not commenting on his own case, of course. But the most common argument I'm hearing in his defense is, well, it was a war, and in a war you go and kill people. Um, I got to say, I know people are not going to like I'm going to say here, but guys, that is a retarded argument. That is absolutely ridiculous. If you take that to its logical conclusion, you are effectively saying that any soldier should be allowed to do whatever they want simply because they're on a battlefield. And I don't think anyone, just about, would actually say that they believe that they think that should actually be the norm. And nationalists very often will bring up the end of World War II when Berlin fell to the Russians. And when they came in, they raped hundreds, if not thousands, of German women.
Yeah,
And they pretty much did so with the blessing of Stalin. Stalin basically said to them, "You like go do whatever you want. Like you've won the war now. Like literally rape and pillage." And that's what happened. Now nationalists condemn that all the time and talk about how that was an outrageous war crime, which it is. So when it comes to our own, uh, we should hold the same standards. And if we are to assume that what he's accused of actually happened, it was pretty bad. Uh, we're not talking about gunning soldiers down in the heat of battle. We're talking about unarmed civilians where it was 100% clear they posed no threat whatsoever. And doing things like kicking them off a mountain and executing them.
Yep.
Engaged
Like
in what?
how about this for a rule of thumb? If I say in front of whatever action done in the theater of war, and I prefix it by saying an IDF soldier did this, it's probably a war crime.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
If I prefix with that and you actually believe it, then yeah, it's probably a war crime.
Yeah. Now look, I get the other things about this. Like some people are saying that he was purposely arrested in Sydney because that would guarantee a more diverse jury that's therefore more biased against him. Yeah,
Maybe.
no, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. That could well be true. Um, and there may be an element of tall poppy syndrome here. I don't know. But still, like ultimately, the question is: did he do those crimes that he is accused of doing? And those who defend him really, I've noticed, don't say much. They give that argument that I just mentioned. Oh, look, it's a war, so you kill people in war. One of the other ones I heard was Channel 9 paid a witness $700,000 to sign a non disclosure agreement. But that was to do with a domestic violence incident that Ben Robert Smith
Yeah.
is accused of. And he's not been charged with that. This is to do with the war crimes. So that witness is completely irrelevant to what we're talking about here. So, yeah. Now look, he might be innocent. I haven't really come to a firm conclusion yet. But I just wish
I
our
guess we'll
guys
find
would
out.
stop throwing out that argument. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I guess we're gonna find out soon enough, though. So
Yeah, I mean he could be in jail waiting trial for up to 2 years. So yeah, it's not a great situation for him. Okay, let's go into immigration. So Angus Taylor has in part released the coalition's immigration policy. Now, so this is a 12-point plan prioritizing housing and social security as well for citizens. All right, so
what?
what he said was, what he said is that it's not good enough to simply exclude immigrants who may be violent or break Australian law. He said that we have to actually reject migrants who reject Australia's core values. Uh, well, we already get them to sign an Australian values statement, which I'm sure most of them don't even read. All they do is just sign it. Um,
Yeah.
so I've not seen anything yet as to how they would do that. Now they're also getting accused of just following One Nation, and One Nation had part of its policy platform leaked, which we're going to cover, and I'll actually read out verbatim what it said. Um, but no, look, uh, the Albanese government actually responded to this saying, "Well, we have slashed migration levels. No, you've only reduced them in comparison to the post-COVID swarm of people that came over here.
Mm.
That's all you've done. If you take away that outlier of post-COVID, migration levels are at record highs. There's no
Look.
question about that.
The relative figure is like the politician's policy shield. Like that's it's always a relative figure. It's never an objective figure. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, uh, a British man in his 80s. I don't actually know the ethnicity of this guy. Because he's in his 80s, I'm going to say there's, probably a better chance that he's a white guy. Um, if he was in his 20s, I'd say no, you're probably a Paki or something. But anyway, this guy was jailed for sexually abusing a 9-year-old girl. And guess what? He avoided deportation. So this was after The
Well,
tribunal reinstated its visa, which remember they can do, uh, and they cited his ill health and strong ties to Australia. So
can we
even
finally
though,
protest these laws? Can we finally get some like actual outrage about the bullshit that is strong ties to Australia?
yeah, so look, this was criticised previously in terms of the guidelines the tribunal follows. Now, if we remember the previous immigration minister, Andrew Giles, who was skewered over this kind of stuff, he actually reformed that so that the guidelines were a little stricter. But obviously, when we're reading a case like this, those guidelines are not strict enough. Otherwise, something like this simply wouldn't happen. Now, the child, the victim here of this man, he has actually written. She has written a letter to Tony Burke, the migration minister, basically begging him to deport this man. Now, I said earlier today on Telegram and stuff, what she really should have done was tell him that this man is a white nationalist.
Yeah, there we
Because
go.
if she did, and
No,
he
he
believed,
doesn't even need to be one. He just needs to associate with them.
yeah, he would be on a plane right now.
Oh yeah,
He would be fucking out of here. Because let me also stress, just because the tribunal ruled that his visa be reinstated, the immigration minister retains unilateral power to cancel his visa, which is, which is what he did to a few of our guys.
yeah.
Um,
I had
so
fucking Matt Grutter like one of my things actually today. Oddly enough.
yeah, so I mean, we deported him for standing outside of New South Wales Parliament. Yeah, this guy who raped a 9-year-old girl, he's okay. And he just accepts the tribunal's decision. This kind of shit is just infuriating. Okay, now a so called Swedish migrant is saying that he fears being banned from Australia after his former employer mishandled his visa application. Okay,
Fuck.
now this guy, who is apparently Swedish, his name is Shabo Amoziga. And,
What?
just take a look at him. He
Oh
doesn't look
yeah.
very Swedish to me.
And
Doesn't
then
look
it
very
comes to the
Swedish.
side of fucking chickpeas,
Yeah,
not
so look,
meatballs.
it's pointed out that this guy came to Australia on a 482 visa, which was the new visa that I think it was the Morrison government put in place uh, to replace the 457. But look, you hear these stories all the time, and while I don't for a second shed a tear for this guy being sent back, it just shows how they're able to kind of control and manipulate the foreign labor pool like this,
Oh yeah.
because they've always got the threat of deportation hanging over their head, and so they're willing to do things like hand back cash um, at the end of the week when they're paid. And
Literally. During that Tyler Oliveira's documentary, which again I can't say this enough. You should watch all of his shit because it's fucking great. They interview one of these guys, and he's talking about how like, oh yeah, I was sleeping like 10 guys to like a 2-bedroom with like, some of us were organized and some of us work night shift and whatnot. And the 2-bedroom was actually owned by his like state citizen, like legal Indian boss, obviously all Indian guys. And he was like, yeah, so he would pay us like the minimum amount for this job, and then his records are good, but then the rent for this place was something like 80% of his actual wage. Because
yes, we talked a bit about that last week, like with the fruit
yeah,
pickers, because there's a
yes,
housing shortage. They're giving board, and the board is this ridiculously high rate. It's a
yeah.
scam just so they can pay them less.
Now it's like the Delta. People say like, okay, yeah, they're a victim, but honestly, what they're here for is the Delta between like the buying power here of what's left and the buying power there. So like you're getting the foreign worker is getting fucked because yes, okay, he gets access to a higher value currency, but he's also getting fucked on the work in the country that currency is actually valued in the value of that work in that country. But also
Yes.
like then you go like it was Frisco in Texas. It's like yeah, people just can't get work there because like there's a whole bunch of like Indian IT specialists who don't go to the office that their business is registered, their employee's business is registered to because it's a fake fucking business. What do? They literally just like um clerk 7-Elevens and do like shitty contractor work.
Oh shit. So uh, let's actually now maybe give the ALP a little bit of credit. So the story from the noticer here, and that is that the Australian government is rejecting visas for international students at record rates. How about that? So,
Oh,
give you some figures here. So, the refusal rate was 32.5% in February, and that is the highest rate of rejection seen in a single month in 20 years. Now, the the people who are getting rejected tend to be South Asians. So 60.2% Nepalese, 47.2 Bangladeshi, and 40% Indian. The refusal rate for Chinese is the same at 3%. And also remember, we've got far less Chinese applying now
yes.
for student visas. Don't get too excited by that. We're just replacing them with Indians. We're replacing them with
Yeah.
worse. Um, but anyway, the government is taking credit for this and saying that it is part of their response to the dodgy degree mills out there, fake institutions that give fake certificates out. Now, they're a bit late to the game here. We've been talking about those degree mills for years on this show, and people have been aware of them for years. So, you know, it's definitely late to the party there. But I
Mm.
guess, look, remember the only category of visa that the government is ever willing to tinker with is student visas. It's the only one. Um, and when they did have that temporary cut, uh, they just ramped it right back up later on. you know,
Oh yeah.
so look, even though those figures might seem impressive, um, they'll make up for it in the future. They will.
Yeah,
Uh,
don't worry. You'll get your infinite Indians.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Oh god. So we probably heard about this guy, a African rapist. Uh,
Yes.
he was doing a hospital visit and he escaped from the hospital. Um, so this guy, Michael Angok, 30 years old. This was a multi-agency manhunt after he escaped Bankstown Hospital. So they say that the escape raised new security concerns over the management of the nation's detention centers. Yeah, I reckon.
Can they just
Um,
like have like shackled him to a ball and chain, like comic book style?
well, yeah, that's probably what they should do. So they've said, though, that at these detention centers and also in hospitals, there's been an increase in violent incidences and escapes. Yeah, that's because the people there, the detainees, the prisoners, are increasingly becoming browner and blacker. Um, even white criminals generally are easier to deal with.
Yeah. You see those brutal ads, basically like consider a career being a CO, and it's just like No, I don't want to. I don't. I don't want to go to Africa. I'm sorry.
Oh God, no. All right. Now, here's a funny one. Uh, Yet another candidate, perhaps you could say poorly vetted by One Nation. Um, this is actually a guy that they're running in the Farah by-election. His name is David Farley. Now, he led a public petition, and this was during his time as Australian Agricultural Company Chief. Uh, this was back in 2012. He led a public petition for skilled Indian workers to help fill 260 positions at its $80 million Darwin abattoir. Okay.
Oh boy.
So, in other words, this guy actively promoted and petitioned for uh, visas that he said shouldn't even exist. This was back on the 457 visa, temporary skilled worker visa. Uh, that's since been replaced by the 482 that we spoke about earlier. But anyway, Pauline Hanson referred to the 457 as a backdoor to immigration. In other words, once you get in on a 457, you can stay. Yeah, that's what it was. It's pretty much what it is for the 482 as well, though. But nonetheless, yeah, the 457 was very bad. And so now we've got this guy, this agricultural capitalist, who wanted to import 260 Indians to work here.
Jesus.
That's the guy? That is the guy that One Nation is running in Farah? My God.
Well, do you think he changed his mind?
Well, no. I mean, all he's doing is just saying, well, look, he supports the current migration platform of One Nation. He doesn't have anything to say about back then. Okay.
Maybe it's because the current migration platform of One Nation is bullshit.
Yeah, it's a lot more watered down than what it was. Okay, last story on immigration. A man that has recently been killed in US and Israeli airstrikes. This guy called Major General Majid Hadimi. He was the former head of counterintelligence for Iran. This guy actually had a holiday in Australia in 2022. It's been revealed. So this was at the same time that senior officials were grappling with whether the group could be listed under Australian terrorism laws. That's according to Freedom of Information documents. So that's hilarious. This guy was actually allowed to have a holiday in Australia, and he was part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran.
To be fair, I do know some fucking IRGC people over here.
That high ranking?
Probably not that high ranking, no.
No.
But yeah, no,
he was targeted. He was targeted to be taken out, and they did take him out.
Yeah, no, that's fucking. It's fucked. It's fucked. You know, maybe we should do a little a TV series where it's like spy versus spy, and it's like a Iranian Revolutionary Guard officer who has somehow gotten to this country versus the Mossad officer who's just freely allowed to operate in this country.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of that, we've only got one story today for Israel and Gaza. And that is, we have a group of Palestinian human rights organizations in Australia who are launching legal action against the Defence Department, and that is over Australians' arms exports to Israel. So remember, we don't send weapons, quote unquote, to Israel. We're constantly reminded of that from Penny Wong and Richard Marles. However, we do export a lot of material that goes to the IDF. And yes, much of that material are parts and components,
Yep.
which the IDF turn into weapons. Okay? So, all intents and purposes, we do supply weapons to Israel.
Just with extra steps.
Yeah, yeah. Loopholes, I guess you could say. So, yeah, look, I hope they succeed there. Uh, I'd argue we need to go even further. We should boycott Israel. We should divest. We should sanction. We should do all of the above. And, we were talking about this at the start, but I even saw that Italy's prime minister has condemned Israel and said that they're committing a genocide in Gaza. And she is really just a mainstream right leader. So,
which one was Mussolini's like grandniece or some shit?
I think Alessandria Mussolini.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she's in politics anymore.
She had some fun lines.
She did. She also did nude modeling. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Oh, didn't like Mussolini's literal fucking granddaughter, not the niece or grandniece, but the literal granddaughter, like do a city pop album in Japan, a Japanese language pop album in like the 80s.
That I'm not aware of. I don't know. Not really an expert on the Mussolini family.
There's some spastic shit happened there. It's a very interesting family.
Okay, so on to the economy. So they're still teasing the May budget, talking about how it's going to deliver immediate cost of living relief, and also tough reform regarding productivity, because productivity in this country has been declining for decades.
Yeah, it's in the toilet. I think we're down 30% biannually.
Yeah, this is a classic example of a contradiction of capitalism. The more you import workers as a source of cheap labor, source of cutting costs for your business, the more you actually bring over unskilled monkeys. And overall productivity across the country declines, even though in the short term some companies might do better because they have cut costs. In the long run, even they will lose out. So, yeah, there's going to be ridiculous things to in an attempt to achieve higher productivity, and none of them will involve cutting migration rates. We can be sure of that.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's also said that Treasury will be in for an $8.1 billion windfall in company tax revenues, and that's because of soaring commodity prices. So, yeah, this is something that very often bails governments out. Like the budget would be in a lot worse shape if it wasn't for commodity prices. And this happened several times under John Howard's government. We're always reminded about how strong the economy was under Howard. He was just riding the back of the mining boom. That's all he was doing.
Oh yeah. Australia had finally decided that it was just basically just going to be one gigantic mining colony.
Yes, and of course, prices were very high, and that was back when I learned the term FIFO. I think started hearing about these people who earn tons of money in the Northwest, doing like 2 on and 1 off. But this is one of those cases where the budget might be in slightly better shape because commodity prices have been affected by the Iran war. And when prices go up, company tax revenue goes up as well. So one small white pill, I don't know if you could call it that. Now, talking about Matt Canavan again, he's actually called for what he called economic revolution. And he said that should be driven by manufacturing and a new national works program. Wow. Do you remember that other leader who had mass scale works programs?
Boy.
He also said that Australia needs a baby boom, and that could be supported through better working from home provisions and regional growth. Yeah, even Jane Hume is
Yeah.
behind that now. Like more people in the regions being able to work from home. And yeah, the more time women spend at home rather than the office or wherever they are, the more likely they are to be mums.
Well, more likely they fucking. How are you fucking?
So,
Yeah, fair
I mean,
enough.
look,
Okay. Well,
that's
the thing
social
is, her.
conservatism. That's social conservatism with, you know, a critique of capitalism to an extent. Um, there's actually a book called "Conservatives Against Capitalism." I read it a couple of years ago. It's very interesting. I recommend it. But yeah, it basically takes on all of the anti-capitalist arguments that conservatives over centuries have made against the free market. Um, okay, finally, food charities obviously are seeing soaring demand. Um, the hampers that they usually give to people, to those in need, now have fewer items, and that includes less fresh food. They can't just manage to keep up with demand, and so uh, this is, by the way, I'm just reading the story from Western Australia. The state government has promised relief measures to help the vulnerable, but there's no detail on that yet. We don't know if they're going to provide direct relief to these food charities or not.
Eh, probably not.
No.
They only go for the welfare side of things.
Yeah. How do you think Trump is going to be remembered? I think he's going to be remembered for all of this kind of stuff, for like
This,
escalating prices that made the poor starve. I think that'll
yeah,
be his
probably. I can
legacy.
see that. That and being hyper volatile and possibly a fucking moron.
That as well. All right. Housing. More figures for you. The cost of building a detached home could rise by up to 10% as the current war in Iraq is rattling global supply chains and also making building material much, much more expensive. So last week we talked about PVC, but look, it's also applying to basically everything else: timber, paint, piping, whatever. Um, and that's putting up housing prices. Just the thing that Australia needs, of course. Um, and the construction industry is warning about mass layoffs for the same reasons, basically. Um, and they're actually complaining about some of their building products going up by up to 50%. And that's
Oh,
only since
fucking Jesus.
February. So only in a couple of months, they went up almost by 50%. Wow.
Fucking Christ.
Okay. Now, here's one of the ways that New South Wales has been trying to tackle the housing crisis, or one of the ways. Um, they've been taking down old churches. So, there's heaps of churches out there that are basically abandoned. I know, like, there's a couple in Fremantle that they've turned into pubs. And also, fun fact, there's one synagogue in Fremantle that
Oh.
they turned into a bar as well. Um, but what we're doing with these churches now is we are bulldozing them and developing them, high density housing, as you can imagine. So um, there's this one particular one that the ABC looked at in Western Sydney. This is the former uh, Jamestown Uniting Church. But it currently actually acts as a share house. So there's 5 people who live there at the moment, but I think they're effectively squatting. But the government is saying, no, you got to get out because we're demolishing it and then we're handing it over to developers.
Brutal.
Now, this is part of an overhaul of planning rules in New South Wales that is looking to build 20,000 homes. So it's not just churches we're talking about. It's, many, many things, many areas that are like been decommissioned or whatever. The government is just like selling it all off or saying, yeah, you can demolish it now and subdivide it. Yeah. And people like that just get kicked out.
Oh, well, if you can't afford a bog pod, then the government will sure as hell make you homeless, even if you do manage to scavenge a place that is not being used.
Yeah. Well, also, this next story here is about a house that someone in social housing used to rent. It actually was unoccupied for more than a year. It was privately owned, and eventually the state bought it. It was bought by state housing. Now there are reports that there are hundreds of these places. You've got investors who, I guess, they just have so many properties they forget about a few of them, and they just sit there empty.
Yeah.
We know about that, and I don't know. What do you think we should do? Like, what would be the incentive to stop these companies from doing that? Like, just sell it off, for God's sake. Even if you have to turn it into a block of tiny units, it's better off.
Yeah, honestly, it would be. Like I remember this one. I won't name the company because I don't want to get in fucking legal trouble for, like, I guess, telling the truth. There was this property management company that was managing one of the properties on the road that I used to live on, and this house literally just went to shit. It literally just became derelict, and it's because the guy who owned the property that the company was managing for just fucking died, and no one really fucking checked in on that. And then the company literally made a paper error, and which apparently happens a lot. Especially if you use Purple Pinger's fucking abandoned house finding website. There's a lot of them. It disappeared in the ink. Simple as that. And then yeah.
What exactly is a purple pinger? It sounds like an ecstasy tablet or something.
It probably fucking is.
Okay, but isn't it? There's some some leftist personality who calls themselves Purple Pinger.
Yes, that's Jordan Vanderlam. Yeah.
Oh God. So he's named after popping pills.
Yeah, no, there was drug use at a socialist party launch. I was there.
Oh God. All right. So lastly on housing, details of a major budget blowout that's facing Victoria's big housing build program. So these were documents that were found by the ABC. It shows that the $5.3 billion program was at risk of costing $6.2 billion by early 2023. Well, look, it's a government project. It doesn't matter where it's built, under what government, it's going to have a cost blowout. You can just be guaranteed for every government project, basically. Okay, let's go to industrial relations. So, just quickly in Queensland Rail have warned commuters that they will be affected by 4 extra days of track closure. So this is a union-protected industrial action. In other words, it's legal.
All right.
So they've been in negotiation to reach new enterprise agreements, and those negotiations are ongoing. with the state government, I assume. All right. Oh God, Fatima Payman. She loves her
Oh
social
no.
media. She's very, very social media savvy. Um, she's secured a parliamentary inquiry into the criminal underpayment laws. So, what this is, well, we were talking about it a bit earlier, was like these methods that employers use to basically pay their employees less. Things like charging exorbitant board fees or
Yeah.
demanding that they hand back some of their wages in cash so that it's not recorded. Things like that. We hear reports of this all the time. However, this program has been underway for 15 months now, and there hasn't been a single investigation. Um, so the Chamber of Commerce and the business lobby basically are saying that this is evidence that people were actually crying about nothing. They're saying that that kind of
What?
wage theft or underpayment, yeah, they're saying that if it was occurring, that we would have an investigation by now, is essentially what they're saying. Um,
I
now,
think someone's trying to oversell their competence there.
yeah, now worth pointing out though that the Fair Work Ombudsman has started two probes into alleged criminal underpayments by employers. So even though this particular body is not investigating something, that doesn't mean there are none. There are examples out there. Um, so she's saying that it is bizarre that this is happening. She said over $10 million a year is being spent on an office that hasn't made a single referral. Instinctively, I wonder whether the bar is too high for referrals from the Fair Work Ombudsman to have any chance of success in court. Yeah, that might have something to do with it as well. There's probably a very high evidentiary bar that you must meet, and if you simply just got the word of workers, they just heard about it. Well, of course, that's not enough evidence to go by.
No.
So
Yeah.
I think I agree
Everyone's
with
boss
that.
is a tosser.
Yeah. So on this, I guess, yeah, I think Fatima is right. See, like her baby bulge is getting a lot bigger.
Quickly deport it before it lays eggs.
Her half Australian baby. Okay. All right. So climate change and energy. Um, so talking about EVs, electric vehicles. So the transport minister says that now may not be the time for a road user charge. Yeah,
Yes. Now
yeah,
would really be a really fucking bad time.
yeah. Now there will be one. I mean, don't worry about that, because if the government is basically forcing transitions to electric vehicles, there's no way they're going to have all of us driving the road paying no tax. That's absurd. Of course they will. Um, but they're still in the phase now where they're pushing them on us. And so that means there won't be a road tax.
Mm.
Now, that would be especially bad given that the purchase of EVs has skyrocketed ever since the Iran conflict broke out. Yeah, they've like almost doubled in what, like a month, which is pretty crazy.
It's
So,
fucking nuts.
to whack a new tax on all of those people who just like spent big on an EV because all EVs are expensive. Yeah, that would be political suicide, I think, if they were to do that.
Well, I remember like so many years ago they were subsidizing this, and I think I said this last time we brought this up, but like in Europe they subsidized people purchasing solar panels, and we did that over here. And I think we're going to do the last step of this pretty soon as well. Then the Europe pulled the subsidy, and then they started taxing people whose houses had solar panels.
Yeah,
saying that they're saving money on electricity, so therefore they can give us the money.
Yeah, and when this tax eventually does come in, you'll be hit hard. If you try an EV, you'll be hit hard for it. And I imagine that registering the vehicle as well is going to be very high.
Yeah.
Registration is already very high, I think.
It's like fucking $800 for fuck all time for me.
Yeah. Okay, and only one other story on climate and energy, and that is the government has walked back plans to relocate Cocos Island residents. So this is located in the Indian Ocean, 2,500 kilometers off Australia's mainland, and there's only about 600 people who live there.
Okay, so where are we relocating them to? The mainland, your neighborhood, your rectum and colon.
That's probably what they wanted, but there has been enormous backlash. Those 600 people want to continue living there, but it's funny if you look at that story. I think there's a picture in it. Yeah, there is, of what an aerial shot of the place looks like, and it basically looks like they're already flooded. There's just water everywhere in shot here. So whether this is climate change or not, I don't know. But this is genuinely a place that is under threat by rising sea levels and the risk of flooding. Just look at the place. So look,
well, it looks more like this looks more like erosion to me, to be honest.
Yeah, you take one look at this, I'm like, no way I would ever fucking live there.
Well, you get the smaller islands in the Solomon Archipelago, they were around in the 18th century and now they're not, and then ones that weren't around in the 18th century are because they're functionally all just sandbars, compressed sandbars.
Yeah. And I suspect these people are an economic drain as well.
Yeah.
What do they do for work over there?
Sell shells.
That's about all they could do. All right. Yes. So, FOGO bins. So, I don't know what it's like in other states, but here in WA, we actually have 3 bins. Well, if your council does it. We're in one of those councils where we don't have the 3rd bin. But anyway, the 3 bins are the green one, that's just general waste or landfill, as some people call it. There's the one with the yellow lid, that's recycling. And then there is the smaller green one that is for food organics and garden organics. So it's FOGO.
A little bit different for me. The green one is my fucking FOGO bin, and the one that's general waste is my red one. So I got yellow, which is recyclables, green, which is your organics, and then red, which is your general landfill.
Yeah, that's a bit of a new thing because, and red, obviously, it's like a danger sign. They're trying to discourage you from using that bin. But yeah, you're right. That's kind of what they've changed it to. We don't have that. We just have a green where we are. But anyway, apparently this program in many councils are on the verge of collapse. And we actually asked, what was it, the Labor MP. I'm not doxing myself because everywhere is a Labor MP here in WA. And they said that, a lot of the councils are not doing the FOGO bins because they're just too expensive. Now, this was part of the state government's waste strategy. So it was a way of reducing rubbish that goes to the landfill. So you put your green waste in a separate one.
And also people just don't give a shit. People put general waste in the fucking recycling. We don't actually fucking recycle. That's another thing. And then the people picking up the recycling don't give a flying fuck either.
Right. Now, we've got something similar for the green waste, though, because we were supposed to turn some of that into commercial use. We were supposed to sell it. Um, I don't know, as compost or something. I'm not sure exactly what they do there. But anyway, that has been very, very unsuccessful. They're not finding too many buyers. What a surprise! Who want to buy green waste from the council. So it might actually go back to a state where we just have the two bins again, and they just get rid of the third one entirely. And there's already some councils that have done that. All right. So, a new study has confirmed that logging worsens bushfires because regrowth eucalyptus trees are highly flammable in comparison to mature trees, and they act as sort of a green fire break. Yeah, isn't this what they say like caused
Isn't it
all
the other
the
fucking way around? I'm almost certain it's the other way around.
um
Because one of the things, like one of the reasons why eucalyptus dominate, and we actually don't have that much floral diversity when it comes to what was it, arborist diversity when it comes to trees, is because Aboriginals literally burnt down the fucking trees, and the only tree that actually can take burning down pretty damn fucking well is eucalyptus trees, because when they do get to maturity, they basically just build up with basically oils. And
no,
the idea is, yeah, I'm almost certain it's the other way around. I
all
mean,
right.
yeah, a younger eucalyptus sapling probably is oily as fuck, but like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the matures fucking try and set themselves on fire on purpose.
But what were the trees that like California got off us that is said to have caused it?
Eucalyptus.
Yeah. So wouldn't that suggest they are highly flammable?
Yeah, yeah, they are. They definitely are. They were meant to replace this like fucking gum style related tree that was like logged to death in California. Basically, California was like, "Oh shit, we logged all these trees to death. Like, we need to like make sure this is that what we're replacing it with is equivalent, so we don't actually fuck our environment. And two, like, yeah, we need something that is decently fast growing because we want to do some more logging. And this German, basically like an environmental scientist guy from the turn of the last century was just like, here's a whole bunch of eucalyptus trees, and then yeah.
Okay. But you're still saying though that they're not as flammable as like old growth trees.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not. This is not my field of expertise, but
Yeah.
California didn't have too many problems with fires up until the eucalyptus trees like matured, because it takes them about like 100 years to properly mature, and then they
Okay.
started catching fire.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. Jury's out on that one. I'll have to read about that a bit more.
Might be
Um,
wrong.
okay. Aborigines. Um, right. So, Indigenous remains were uncovered during construction work on Rottnest Island. So that's one of our popular holiday islands here in WA. Um, now, Indigenous leaders are calling for Rottnest to be granted UNESCO World Heritage status. And, heritage status basically means you can't develop. Um,
Ugh.
it's land that you can't touch. So they're saying that records indicate that thousands of Aboriginal men and boys were imprisoned on Rottnest Island between 1838 and 1931, and when they died, they tended to be buried in unmarked graves. So during a construction work on the island last week, they said to have found the skeleton of one of those people. Now, even though these are people who only go as far back as 1838, uh, they're still claiming that this is like a sacred Aboriginal spiritual site
Yep.
because there's Aborigines buried there. Um, So yeah, now they're just saying like, oh yeah, we want to stop all of these projects because we found like one body there, one skeleton.
Hey, hey, Finian, brace for the invoice.
Well, of course.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, they don't actually have a problem with these construction programs. They have a problem with not getting a slice of it. That's what this
Yeah.
always is.
The
And
only
they'll use any
problem that
excuse for that.
Aborigines have with Rottnest Island is getting kicked out of the fucking sports bar on the beach after they get completely and utterly shittered in the midday sun. I went there a little bit ago, not that too long ago. I used to love going to this place called the Governor's Sports Bar, and now it's completely gone. Granted, they've replaced it with a better looking bar, a larger, better looking bar, but like they got rid of all the old hotel hotel places there. They got rid of the Governor's Sports Bar, but they got rid of a lot of the kitsch of Rottnest Island.
Yeah, man, I have not been there in so long. I was like 21, I think, last time I went there. It's funny, like you mentioned, the kicking off the island. One of my mates did actually get kicked off. I was like, I didn't even really realize that could happen. You know, he, he got kicked out of like several pubs, and then finally, like the police actually kicked him off the island entirely.
There's like only two now.
Two pubs.
Yeah,
Okay, no, I
forgot the
must go over
names.
there again. I really should.
Boys trip. Let's go over there and get completely and utterly shitted sometime next summer. when when basically the sun is brutal over there, man. You could have like you could be a fucking like a veteran drinker, a real fucking boozer, and you're still kind of fucked after like 2 pints over there because of the
Oh
sun.
my god. Well, look, I'm glad to say I don't do that anymore. My drinking to get shit faced days are well behind me,
Oh yeah, fuck that.
and I really like waking up with no hangover. Um,
Yeah, you can kind of tell your age by like how much you can drink. Like if you go on a bender, how many days it takes to recover.
yeah, no, the amount I can drink that will cause a hangover nowadays is so much less than what it was when I was, in my 20s or whatever. Um, I could knock off a six pack of full strength beer, and next day I would be perfectly fine. No sign of a hangover whatsoever. You get a bit older, oh shit,
Yep.
then it really starts to hit you. Anyway, all right, one last A news story. A not for profit organization that supports young Queensland people in watch houses, also sometimes known as the drunk tank. These are, people who get charged, who get arrested, and then they just get chucked in to a watch house.
Yep.
Um, this is, they're called Murray Watch. So they're an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander corporation who applies services to Aborigines who are in watch houses. I hadn't even actually heard of this particular one, but doesn't surprise me at all that that exists. Anyway, they are saying that they are not getting funding from the Queensland government anymore, and they're going to have to stop those services in June.
Jesus.
Um,
There's going to be a whole bunch of uppity little. Well, I think my lawyers advised me not to finish that sentence.
well, do you think they were even really providing a worthwhile service here? Like,
Probably not, man. For
and either
starters,
they
like
got
how many like what's the indigenous population they're like in the first place? Two, yeah, I was gonna say like, but even the ones over there, they're a little bit more tame because they're like mixed in with Polynesians and etc. They're like Asiatics. They're like more Asiatic blood.
yeah, some of them.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't honestly that just lump them all in together into one organization and then have a standardized funding system for it, and then just have some like middle-aged fucking harpy bitch deal with all these indigenous kids so she can apply her bleeding heart shitterism.
Yeah, because look, as far as I know, Aborigines are the only ones who get a service of that kind. So yeah, I don't know why that shouldn't extend to everyone else. But what do you need in the watch house anyway? Like you're usually just in there to like
Epinephrine.
sober up. You know, they get you to sleep it off, and then you get discharged the next day, and they give you a fine or something. I know that isn't always the case, but that's probably what it is most of the time. Uh, like I don't know, we already spend too much money on all the processes of the justice system. You hear figures like, the average criminal costs the Australian taxpayer like 150 grand a year. Now, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Jesus.
But part of that is because we keep building these ridiculous services like this. We keep throwing them into the mix in the hope that we're going to rehabilitate people, when really most of the time you're talking about people who cannot be rehabilitated. They are simply just criminal people. It's in their blood, it's in their DNA, which is why, if you want a real solution to that problem, you sterilize them, stop them from breeding. And I
Yeah, fair
guarantee
enough.
you, like, within a very, very short amount of time, you'll start noticing a big, big difference. And, doing stuff like this was as mainstream as someone like Winston Churchill supporting it.
Yeah.
Please support it. Okay.
Just let him do it. Just let him do it. Oh,
Okay, on to
God.
crime. So, back in WA, Fremantle's council, they've proposed a law change that would limit the amount of convenience style stores that allegedly sell illegal cigarettes and vapes.
I'm pretty sure if it's illegal, you kind of already have a law limiting it that you can't enforce already.
Well, okay, so what they're saying is that they've actually got more than a dozen that already exist in Fremantle. And there's actually more that are opening this week. So what they're worried about is like, why all of a sudden are these like tobacconist stores suddenly just popping up everywhere? And they are. I mean, I've noticed it myself.
Yeah.
And it's, they're obviously riding off the back of the boom in the black market for tobacco. There's no doubt about that. So I guess it's easier for them just to stop these places from opening in the first place, you know,
Well, I
rather than
imagine,
set up and then catch
I
them in the
imagine,
act.
I imagine there's some borderline racial processing, racial profiling law you could put in place that would make this work.
Yeah. And look, like, they've got more than 12 already in Fremantle. I mean, Fremantle isn't that big. I mean, surely that's enough, to have what, like 13, 14 tobacconists in one city, one small city? Okay.
Oh man.
Um, all right. So in Victoria, the opposition, the Liberals, they've promised to recruit hundreds more protective services officers. Now, these are people who ride on public transport. Yeah, so there was a case last month of Aidan Becker, who was stabbed to death at the Mernda station in Victoria. Yeah, trains, buses, and that, they can actually get quite violent. Uh, Particularly, say on a weekend, late at night or early in the morning, they can get quite violent. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we do need to kind of roll out more people that have very similar powers to the police. Uh, they carry batons, they've got pepper spray and all that kind of thing, and they can physically restrain you.
Yeah, the railway police aren't actually all that too bad. There's just fuck all of them. Like I knew a guy who applied to be, oh god, he kind of went down the line. He got kicked out. Dude, this kid, it's still so unfortunate. This kid was white, man, because he would have got what he wanted right off the bat if he wasn't white. But he got kicked out of the ADF. Well, basically got bounced from the ADF for being white. Got bounced from the police force for being white, and then he applied to be a railway cop, and he got pretty far there. And then they're like, yeah, now like we're doing the thinning of the herd, and it is like they basically gave him and they gave him like this gorilla of a man to do like the restraint thing, like you have to be able to demonstrate that you can use this one restraint technique on someone who's actively trying to resist being restrained. And they literally gave women to all the other candidates, and then basically a dude who, if you picture the word diesel, that's pretty much what this guy looked like. I felt so sorry for the poor kid. But yeah, they're not that bad. But yeah, no, they just don't hire. I don't know if it's like some kind of gatekeeping thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, there's definitely a need for them. I think I've told this story before, but I knew this Asian girl who she really shouldn't have done this, but she was traveling by herself on the Armadale line.
Oh no.
And when she got off at her station, she was bashed by two Aborigines and mugged. So yeah, this shit happens a lot. Um, it's sad, like, like on a train at a station with this kind of shit happening, but it does.
I took the I was out with some normie friends, some fucking non chuds. I like chudding it up with my chuds. But I was out with some normie friends. And we ended up going to the Royal Show, and we ended up taking that one train from the city that goes into the Royal Show, just so you can like not get raped on parking. It's like a country fair for the Americans listening, and so we take the train in, and literally there's this Aboriginal guy who's either high, drunk, or both, screaming at this Asian lady is like, "Oh, looks like a Chinese spy," and he's like literally like on the seat behind it, fucking screaming. She's cowering. And eventually, me and some of the guys are like, "Hey, just stop, fucking stop." And then he gets off at the next stop, which is great. But nothing ever happened to that guy, and he was just going around harassing people on the fucking train because it's air conditioned and it's enclosed.
Yeah, no, like a lot of homeless people, they'll go and buy like an all-day ticket because it's a shelter that's air conditioned for them, and that's a hell of a lot better than in some alleyway in the stinking hot. You know, so
Yeah.
understand why they do it.
But yeah,
Okay, now
that's that.
same thing in Darwin. Um, well, this is actually going to happen. The CLP have announced uh, public safety officers. They're going to start patrolling Darwin's bus network. Now, they're actually rolling these people out very quickly. They've only had 4 months of training, but that is basically because of the urgency of these buses.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about we get a lot of examples of violence on them, and well, this is Darwin. I'm sure it's worse than Victoria. I'm sure it's worse than here in Perth. There are many, many more of our Indigenous friends to contend with.
So, Darwin is an open air fucking zoo. Anyone who's listened to the show knows that is exactly the fucking case.
Yeah, yeah. So the Transport Workers Union, they'd say they're behind this. They support this very much. They've said that antisocial behaviour on Northern Territory public transport is the worst in the country. And you know what?
Yep.
I think I would agree. I don't think that's.
I would tend to concur.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, they're saying that the CLP is saying that they have had a lot of success since they took government in terms of law and order. I think they have, and I think the government should give them more money to further that program, and they need to build more prison facilities because they've just got more prisoners. Okay.
Yeah. They just need to do it.
Oh, I didn't exactly put my stories in order here. We're going back to Victoria. So again, the opposition says they will recruit 3,000 new police officers if elected. But where the hell are you going to get them? Considering the fact we've got a shortage across the entire country and you've got advertising just about everywhere asking people to join the police force. Well, here's what they're going to do. They're going to offer a one-off upfront payment of $5,000 to police officers from the UK, Ireland, and New Zealand. Yeah, like you notice, like when like so many coppers have accents, particularly English accents. I've always noticed this.
Well, dude, they're all fucking. They're metro cops from the UK, and basically they get. I've literally had a full-on conversation with an older British cop, and he was active duty over here. It was just like one of the reasons why, and a lot of them are white guys too. There's a lot of the reasons why the cops they come over here is because it's not as shit for policing over here.
Yeah. For now,
yeah, that's not gonna stick.
No, they're just a few years ahead of us. That's all. Yeah, and then where are you going to recruit people from? We're going to run out of these like white sources of labor eventually. Oh God, this story. Okay, last one on crime. Again in Victoria. This is at Horsham. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It's in Victoria's west. There have been numerous reports of hidden cameras placed in the change rooms there.
What?
So they've arrested one person. No, sorry. One person has been laid off and is going to be questioned by police. There's no details on who that person is exactly. But I hope I remember to follow up on this story because whenever we hear about this, it's usually Pajeeps who do this kind of thing.
Literally, the one time I was in university and this exact fucking thing happened, it was an Indian guy and they made it disappear they made it disappear faster than fucking a Houdini, man.
Yeah. So they said that this has actually been happening in the place for a period of time. Well,
all right. So, how many hours of footage do you think we have, Finian?
Well, police say they executed 2 search warrants in this suburb. They seized mobile phones, computers, and storage devices for examination. Right. So. I guess we'll find out.
Oh, Satan's giving you a visit.
Oh, she just woke up. She's sleeping on top of the PC tower. Sometimes she just gets a jolt and then wakes up. All right. To state politics. So the upcoming Victorian election. Well, if you're a Victorian listener, there's perhaps a chance that, like our other listeners, you have autism. I'm going to guess some percentage of our audience is that way inclined. Anyway, if you're worried about the high sensory environment that often accompanies a polling booth, well, it looks like the Victorian Electoral Commission has something in store for you. So they're going to have, at all 88 lower house districts, a dedicated low sensory voting centre. So that will have reduced sound, moderated lighting, subdued visuals, and regulated crowd levels.
Yeah, okay.
So I know, they've done this kind of thing at grocery stores before, where
the quiet hour.
People, yeah, they're given 1 hour to go in by themselves, and they turn the radio off and dim the lights, that kind of thing.
That's when you pretend to be autistic, get in there, grab one of them, and just start shaking them by their shoulders and screaming, "Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare."
Oh, God. Well, in this article, they're just referred to as neurodivergent voters. Okay.
So what, the autism fit's going to make them vote for the wrong candidate or not at all?
Look, I don't actually really have a problem with it. I mean, as long as not some massive amount of money has gone into it. I don't know how much this would cost, but
I want to see. I want to see how this plays out. Maybe more autistic people voting will push things in our direction, Finian. Maybe it won't. I would like to see.
We'll see. All right, so 3 veteran Labor MPs. They're standing down from their roles in the front bench from cabinet. So, Health Minister Mary Ann Thomas, Minister for Government Services Danny Pearson, and Minister for Water Gail Tierney. They've been replaced already. And by the way, the reason they stood down is because they will not be contesting the next election. So, well, look, go look it up if you want. I don't think most people are interested in hearing the names, but they have been replaced already. All right, so to the Queensland ALP. Okay, an independent MP, but he spent most of his time in Parliament with the Labor Party. His name is Jimmy Sullivan. He has been found dead at the age of 44 in Stafford. They're not treating the death as suspicious. And this
did they find him with a belt around his neck?
Well, quite possibly. I'm 90% sure this was a suicide. He was dealing with domestic violence allegations against him. There was a disturbance at his house that he was never convicted of, so it's worth putting that out there. It was basically him just yelling at his wife. That seems to be all it was. Nonetheless, she still took out an AVO against him. And when this hit the media, Labor, I guess felt like they had no choice but to expel him. So he spent the remainder of his time as an independent. He was also said by multiple people to have a drinking problem. And now he's dead. So,
yeah, well,
this is going to be ruled a suicide probably very soon.
I was going to say, like, what did he Boris Yeltsin himself?
He might have done that. Yeah, I guess that's another thing. Might have been alcohol poisoning.
I think I got this wrong last time. Which Russian political leader drank himself to death? Oh, yeah.
There's footage of him, like stumbling and shit.
Oh, yeah, it's correct. Boris Yeltsin. Caused the death, although he frankly dealt with health issues during his presidency, including heart attacks. Boris Yeltsin did not die in office. He passed away April 2007 at the age of cardiac arrest caused by progressive multiple organ failure dysfunction syndrome. Context, it was often feared he drank himself to death, but yeah, like alcohol is a known cause of multiple organ failure dysfunction syndrome.
Oh shit!
He drank until his fucking until his organs like gave out on him.
Yeah. I had a friend who did that actually.
Yeah.
I've mentioned him before. Yeah, he was just such a chronic alcoholic that one day his body just couldn't handle it anymore. It can happen.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of bad stories out there regarding alcohol that we perhaps don't talk about enough. Being Irish, of course, I've seen a few examples in my own family.
Yes.
That same.
I 100% nearly did that to myself in Japan, by the way.
Oh, okay.
There was one night, man. There was one night. I physically couldn't get out of bed. Not that it was painful to get out of bed. Like I was paralyzed.
Yeah, like the last time I was properly hungover, I was just in bed all day. And I haven't done it since. It's fucked.
Don't do it, kids.
South Australia. We've got 2 stories here. But first of all, the South Australia Best Party. So this was also known as the Nick Xenophon team, I think it was. They have lost their last house in Parliament, in the South Australian Parliament. So this is Connie Bonaros. Um, she actually lost a lot of her votes to One Nation. I don't believe One Nation took this seat, though. Uh, but anyway, they touted themselves, or Nick Xenophon certainly did, as a third force in South Australian politics. Now, Nick Xenophon actually used to be an independent senator federally, representing South Australia, of course. But then he packed it in because he thought he was going to make it big simply in state politics, leading this best party or whatever it was called at that point.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a massive flop, and now they don't have a single member in South Australian Parliament now.
Should have picked a better name, buddy. You know, it's all about marketing.
He loved doing publicity stunts, though. He was always out there, like, with billboards and dressing up and all sorts of stupid shit.
Well, if I was going to do a well, if I was going to go out with like a political sandwich board and etc. like that, I would choose to have the same text from that one Die Hard movie on it. I think these days I'll get a couple votes.
Well, look, he's basically a shit lib, Nick Xenophon, but one thing I'll say to his credit is he actually started his career in politics as a no pokies campaigner. He was like a one-issue politician. In fact, I'm pretty sure he started like the No Pokies Party in South Australia. I'm pretty sure that was him. When he went federal, of course, he had a much broader policy platform. But yeah, I think the pokies are evil.
Yep.
And I don't even like them in casinos. I wish they weren't even there. But
like the one time, literally, I think the one time we went to a casino, I was like explicitly, if no matter how drunk I get, don't let me go near one of those things. I was like, don't. It's not happening.
Yeah,
and I haven't done it to this day.
Someone will deliver your drinks there as well.
Yes.
Casino's very happy for you to do that.
Okay. What's that line from Fear and Loathing, Las Vegas? Like, Las Vegas loves a drunk. He's like, they're completely happy for you to be like some town drunk from an Irish folk song.
All right, so we're now going to go to One Nation. South Australia, One Nation first. So the end result for the Libs and One Nation is the Libs have ended up with 5 seats. One Nation have ended up with 4. For a while there, it looked like it was going to be dead even. Now, that means that, the Libs are fairly secure with their official status of the opposition in South Australia. However, Cory Bernardi has been canvassing independence in South Australia to make One Nation the official opposition. So a number of independents have confirmed that they've been contacted by Cory Bernardi, who, by the way, is the leader in that state. Now, they weren't directly asked to support the party's bid for opposition, but, they've been courted. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this works, but I'm pretty sure you can vote for it. And it would be pretty interesting to see that, like official opposition led by One Nation.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Now we just need because One Nation are definitely going to campaign against those draconian hate speech laws that they would never, ever, ever support, and possibly some of their members would end up being victims thereof. They definitely would do that, right, Finian? It's totally going to happen.
This is quite possibly the best opportunity One Nation will ever have at forming opposition, because we're about to detail more ways One Nation is ripping themselves apart. I think this is a very temporary phenomenon that we're witnessing, mainly in response to Susan Lee's terrible leadership. And One Nation are having their 15 minutes at the moment, but it's only going to be that. It's going to be very short-lived.
Yeah.
On to Federal One Nation. Last episode, we covered how a senior staffer for Federal One Nation, Sean Black, was actually a convicted rapist. And many other incidents of assault on his former partner as well. So she was asked about this, I think it was on 7 News, and she was acting very, very angrily about all of this. So she took aim at Liberal MPs James Patterson and Garth Hamilton because they were the ones who made this public. And she's accusing them of, running dirt files, just being muckrakers. And yeah, there's probably an element of that. But she said this. She said that she shot this man in question in front of his wife with his 2 children in the other room. In other words, that's her metaphor for firing him, I guess. She's not very good with words.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some harsh language there, lady.
Yeah. So, no, sorry, this was Sky News. She said, "So he's gone, finished. This man was convicted, and I don't condone this sort of behaviour whatsoever." And what happened? And then I remember, because I watched this clip. She went on to say that he's done his time. She kept repeating that he's done his time. So from that, I can only think that she thinks, well, all right, he's done his time. He's completely atoned for his sins. It's okay to give him a job. Don't know about that. And dare I say that this is another example of a man you did not vet. And if you did vet him, you would not have hired him. And I thought you would have learned by now, because this is a problem that has plagued One Nation from its inception. There were a few reports that One Nation had somewhat improved in South Australia in the recent election, but we just keep finding examples since then that show the opposite. So Jacinta Price went after One Nation, saying that they failed to exercise basic judgment. But Barnaby, what did Barnaby Joyce have to say about this? He said, "He's gone. That issue has been dealt with. What people also believe in, there has to be a process of redemption. I do know other people in politics who've been to jail for serious crimes, and they're still as staff members. But if you think about it, it's an issue that if you believe there's redemption, if you believe a person turned a corner, and that's what you do." Okay, those words don't really make sense, but he's basically saying forgive and forget, even if you're a convicted rapist.
Well, what?
Not sure if I go that far.
Yeah, I'm not. No, just no. How about fucking no?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a sex offender, that's one of the things where, it's probably just in your nature and you're irredeemable. I think that would be true for just about every sex offender. Okay. So One Nation is demanding that the AFP investigate a serious breach of security. So this was after documents that contained draft policies from One Nation was leaked. And it was leaked to MPs across Parliament. Now, I think this was mainly to do with emails that were exchanged that were sent to the wrong people and had a highly confidential attachment to it.
Yeah.
So here's what it says. So resources: abolish the petroleum resource rent tax, replace it with an across-the-board royalty in oil and gas used for domestic purposes and exports. Okay, that actually doesn't sound too bad. On health, strong opposition to a bill that includes an amendment to immunization that would broaden the definition of vaccines to enable new and emerging technologies to be included. Okay, they're against vax mandates. I think is basically what Pauline, made that clear during COVID, and proudly boasts that she's a pureblood. Migration. Use arrivals data rather than net overseas migration when designing policies affected by migration. Okay, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yep.
That's definitely a good one.
That is the correct metric.
Yeah, it's a good way of kind of covering up what the reality of migration in Australia is. Just like when we talk about GDP, how that covers up the real state of the economy. So yeah, definitely support that. Okay, and finally, increased scrutiny of the New Zealand migration program over fears of it being used as a backdoor by other foreigners. Okay, yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I had a conversation. I think even Jordan said this on the show. It's like he kind of had to apologize to Australia because New Zealand, one basically like allows criminals to be bounced in to Australia, and two, when they basically get too many foreigners, they make it very, very easy to migrate to Australia.
Yeah. Plus, they also gave us Jacinta Ardern.
Yeah.
They can never be forgiven for that. Okay, now, yeah, look, while I definitely agree with those two policies on migration, but they don't go anywhere near as far enough. I mean, One Nation have talked about a net zero immigration system, meaning that you only take in one migrant for every person that leaves Australia. Now, that's not a discriminatory program, unfortunately. No. Would not discriminate by race or even nationality. It might, in terms of if you come from an Islamic country, there'd be a chance of that, I guess. But no, we need something a lot more radical than that. We need something that goes much further than even the White Australia policy did.
We need to start firing these fuckers into the sun.
Well, don't quite endorse that.
I'm a centrist. That's a real center position. Was it? What's that thing from Death Clock? You watched Death Clock, didn't you?
I watched a bit of it. I didn't really like it.
That one scene where they like this one governor wants them to do a concert in his state to raise like fucking like capital, and he's like, "Oh, what do I need to give you guys to persuade you to do that?" And he's like, "We want to be able to choose how like the death row inmates are executed, so they strap them to rockets and shoot lasers at them while they're airborne."
God. Yeah, I love the premise of that show, like a metal band that rules the world.
Yeah,
but it's that surrealist style humor that I just don't connect with, and frankly, I just don't get it a lot of the time. All right. Okay, so federal ALP. Former Labor Senator Trish Crossan has died at the age of 70. Okay, I don't have anything much more to say about that, so I'll move on. Some of these, we're getting to the end now, and some of these stories aren't all that interesting. The new Sydney Metro West artistic impressions have been unveiled. So this is public transport, of course, in New South Wales that is forever under pressure, and they forever have to come up with new projects. Final designs to be complete by 2027, and the metro line is expected to be functional by 2032. And remember, just add a few years to both of those dates, and that'll be more realistic for you. Okay, a digital upgrade to the Opal transport network. So this will allow concessions and card holders and pensioners to use contactless payment. Yeah, I've used the Opal card in Sydney before. It is pretty much the same as like the Smart Rider thing that we have. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's taking convenience to a new level, I guess, where all you have to do is just walk on the bus.
Yeah, the Japanese one is pretty fucking cool too, because the Japanese one, it's basically you can use it to purchase stuff. It is
Oh,
just
really?
it's just straight up a debit card. It's not like just basically like all the money put on it is just linked to public transport. The
Oh, okay.
JR card, yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, you can just walk on buses there, and it because it's an RFID card, you can scan RFID from way further away than you think.
I always heard, like as a kid, this idea that like train stations in Japan are so packed that they actually hire people to push everyone and squeeze everyone into the train. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, there's some lines are fucked.
Is there any truth to that?
Okay, so there's the main problem line in Japan is the red line. Um and that's like I can't remember what the acronym for it was, but yeah, basically it's like everyone from the suburbs in Japan going to the office and business financial district. That's the problem.
Right. Okay. So on to education. So we have some changes underway that are endorsed by the Anti-Semitism Education Task Force. So yeah, this was the government's response to the apparent anti-Semitism at Australian universities. So the Australian Research Council has been ordered to work with security agencies to stamp out espionage and foreign interference in Australian universities. So this is an intervention by the Education Minister, Jason Clare. All publicly funded research must comply with the federal government's anti-Semitism, extremism, and hate speech laws. And those changes, of course, were done with the endorsement of the Anti-Semitism Education Task Force. Okay, so what does this actually mean? They're talking about research grants here. And they're not just talking about research grants for, like, say, political peer-reviewed journal articles or something that are anti-Israel. They're also talking about, like, what was the example they had here? Yeah. So the Australian newspaper reported that last month the ARC had funded 1,500 joint research projects with the despot nations of Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea over the past decade. So Australian universities, I'm reading from the Australian here, of course, have collaborated on drone research with Iranian scientists in recent years. Before the Foreign Minister Penny Wong ordered vice chancellors to cease all work with Iranian institutions back in February 2023. Okay, so this anti-Semitism education task force is kind of getting so involved now that they are controlling and scrutinizing basically every grant or every project that the university allocates funding to. So, I mean, it started off just kind of going after like left wing political academics and other humanities academics, I guess, who are critical of Israel or critical of Zionism. This is referred to as anti Semitism by the Jewish lobby
Yep.
and by the coalition. And, they've really cracked down on that. But now they're even talking about like science projects that might be in collaboration with foreign universities. And, they're making it out as if like Australia is contributing to like Iran developing a nuclear bomb when it is nothing of the kind, you know. These kind of international collaborations happen at every campus. It's what they do. So, yeah, this is a level of government oversight like they've never seen before in Australian universities. Oh, God. So,
Well, again, they
Jason,
pissed off the wrong people. We always talk about the landmine.
yeah. So Jason Clare said, I expect ARC supported activities to advance and not compromise Australia's security, defence, and international relations. I expect the ARC to focus on addressing threats of espionage and foreign interference affecting Australia's research centre. I also expect the ARC to ensure applicants seeking ARC funding are informed of their obligations under the Australian law. In other words, you can't do anything that is deemed to be anti-Semitic.
You can't be a terrible, terrible goy. I still actually, I'm very, very chuffed that goy has now become a mainstream word. That's very bad for them, man.
Yeah. Oh god. So the ARC chair, Peter Shergold, he said they're going to develop new guidelines within 6 months to ensure $20 billion a year in taxpayer research funding is aligned with the Combating Anti-Semitism, Hate and Extremism Act. So, yeah, like every dollar of that $20 billion is going to be scrutinized to make sure you don't hurt Jews' feelings.
Welcome to our side of the fence, boys.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to some health news. Not a surprise that regional health services are feeling increased pressure now because of rising fuel costs. If you live in the regions, you generally have to drive longer to get somewhere. And they're saying that some people now are cancelling appointments outright because they can't afford to drive there. That sounds pretty shit. Not surprising.
I think the compromise here, I think that we should possibly, in this instance, subsidize telehealth calls.
Yeah. Okay, back to the Northern Territory. So the Northern Territory Health Department have rejected calls for a security review at Royal Darwin Hospital. Now, this follows allegations it is running dangerously over capacity. So they say, I believe 150% was the figure they gave there. But also, staff working there are receiving daily threats of violence. So on a daily basis, they're said to be receiving threats of violence and actual assaults that need multiple people to assist and that are leaving nurses traumatized. Yeah. I mean, look, just like public transport, hospitals can actually be very violent places because...
Fucking of course they can.
A lot of people who end up in hospital, it's kind of self-inflicted in a way.
A lot of drunks. Go ask an EMT the stories about them being assaulted. I think I talked about it in one of the previous shows. I ended up talking to this one. What the fuck do they call them over here? I can't even remember. I ended up talking to an EMT. I was like, how often do you think you actually get like properly assaulted, like properly struck? Not like maybe pushed or something like that, or like screamed at or something, which is still bad. But it was like, I get straight up like decked in the face, like 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, you know what else I think it is? Like the drug of choice for like serious junkies for the past few years, it became meth. It used to be heroin. I talked to a nurse, a male nurse that is, though, who worked in emergency, and he said that like you would get ice heads come in, just absolutely crazy, smashing things, assaulting people, and they would have to forcibly sedate them. But he said when a heroin junkie comes in, they just fall asleep. You don't even have to sedate them. Now, I'm not endorsing heroin by any means, but, meth becoming like so widespread, and it's widespread in Aboriginal areas now as well. It's kind of made it all a lot worse.
Oh, dude, fucking, the girl is a fucking pharmacist. I mean, still in the medical industry, but like she has like 100 million fucking stories about how how she's had to deal with like meth heads and etc. And how like the pharmacy that she was in when she first started there went from, because this is getting worse, went from like a handful of security to like now having just full-time crew of like 6 dudes.
Oh God. Okay, now you mentioned telehealth before. Well, there is a Victorian Labor MP, Emma Voolan, who is terminally ill. She's got motor neuron disease. And she wants the ban on discussing assisted suicide in telehealth calls to be lifted. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Like, you're not arranging it. You know, you're not making plans for assisted dying. But you should be allowed to like discuss options, I think, over telehealth. Surely many of these people who are terminal are not very mobile, so they kind of need that. And yeah, look, I've got no problem with assisted dying.
Yeah,
as long as it's handled properly. As long as you
like. Let's not fucking euthanize the random depressed hormonal teenager. Like, let's not do that. I mean, like, I can understand people who have like just lifelong chronic illnesses that like are just never gonna go away, and they're just fucked forever, and the elderly possibly, and the retarded. No, I'm joking there. But yeah, no, I can understand that, but like that case, what was it, out of Denmark? Oh, or was it Sweden?
that was
one of those.
That was the Netherlands. That one.
That was the Netherlands. Okay, yeah.
She was raped by a refugee, I believe.
Yeah, like that was incredibly dark. That was not a. Yeah.
Yeah, I was told though that apparently she was going to die anyway. She had something else going on. I'm not sure what it was, but it's still sad. Yeah, nonetheless. Okay, mental health. Now, I mentioned that Labor MP before. What was his name? Sullivan, something? Jimmy Sullivan. Well, here's an interesting study. So, this was conducted across Australia, and it found that 70% of politicians across all 3 levels of government feel their job is affecting their mental health. And 1 in 5 thought about harming themselves due to the pressures of the job. How about that? So, yeah, look, politicians killing themselves is actually not really a rare thing. There's a lot of examples. So we've had, this Jimmy Sullivan guy. There was Nick Sherry, who slashed his wrists. He was a Labor minister. Labor senator under Kim Beazley, I think it was. And that was over. He was exposed for spending a whopping $300 on his travel allowance, when that wasn't supposed to, he wasn't supposed to spend that money. You also had John Brogden. He was the Liberal opposition leader in New South Wales. He called Bob Carr's wife a mail-order bride, and he had to resign the leadership because of that, and then he tried to kill himself. Yeah, so, we spend the entire time on this show bagging politicians that we don't like, which is pretty much all of them. But I can understand that when so much of your life is broadcast, and every mistake you make is magnified by the media, that's obviously going to have a toll on you. So, and I guess it's also why so many politicians retire so early, or at least stand down from leadership positions. So, yeah, there are now calls for there to actually be more mental health provisions to run offices in parliaments. So you might want to say to your local MP, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Because look, these figures don't surprise me. I can definitely believe this. Um, and just knowing also like some of our guys who have been doxxed, I think that's kind of a similar thing. Like your life suddenly on display for everyone, and everyone demonizing you and attacking you. That's got to be pretty stressful. And that basically happens to politicians every day. They're not
Well, yeah. I
demonized
mean, that's.
like our guys are.
I think there was this one guy, and I think he kind of had this wrong interpretation and stuff. He was like, "Oh, have you ever dealt with politicians? They've got like a PR team that teaches them what to say and when to say this, when to say that. They're not real people." And it's like, yeah, but there's also like message managing and etc. Like you do need to have like a PR team if you're a politician. If you're a big politician, you know, when you're small, you might have an internet audit running your social media. When you're big, yeah, you need basically a law firm.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it's probably the most famous example of a politician killing themselves was a guy called Bud Dwyer. Have you heard of him?
Oh yes, the one where he did it on live TV.
Yes, he did it on live TV. I remember you could actually watch the video on YouTube. It's not there anymore, but I'm sure you could find it if you had a dig. Um, but yeah, I can't. It was like accused of corruption or something. I can't remember. But yeah, he gave like a speech where everyone thought it was a resignation speech because he did actually say goodbye and everything in it. And then he had like a folder, and inside that folder was a gun, and he pulled it out, and all these people started screaming at him till I put it down. Yeah, and he puts it in his mouth and blows his fucking brains
Yeah.
out in front of all these people, and it actually went out live on TV on one channel. And another thing about it was that day there was like a blizzard, snowstorm, and that meant that many kids had not gone to school and they were watching TV. So a lot of kids actually saw it as well. Um,
Yeah, fucking Jesus Christ.
but yeah, what a fucked up way to kill yourself.
There's like a limelight joke in there somewhere, like he really took the spotlight, or he really sucked the air out of the room on that one. There's a joke in
well,
there somewhere, I just can't get it.
there's a song called "Nice Shot Man," but I can't remember who does it now. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of kind of references to it in various media.
Yep.
Filter, the band Filter.
Filter.
It's called "Hey Man, Nice Shot." Okay. All right. Let's go through a couple of these. Just a quick story on animal welfare. The Victorian government is looking at new regulations for the management of poultry, including changes to chicken cages. So, caged eggs make up 1/3 of national egg production, and farmers are therefore concerned about what these regulations would mean for them. Um, I think that some of those caged hens can't even get up or turn around.
Yeah, no.
That's like how small the cage
Battery
is.
farms are battery farms are pretty fucking brutal. And you do actually have to check. You really have to check. Look it up online. Look up your brands up online, because some will say free range and they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we keep them like shoulder to shoulder in a fucking in a shed.
Yeah, because that's the regulations say that is free range,
Yeah.
which is a joke. No, look, I, again, don't have a problem with this. I'm for animal welfare. I'm not for animal rights, but I'm for animal welfare. You shouldn't torture animals or anything like that. Um, Nothing wrong with going fishing, though. Sorry, Tash Peterson. Okay, now, speaking of crazy women, Grace Tame, the Grace Tame Foundation, uh, They say that they are closing because funding is becoming increasingly challenging. Now, when I saw Sky News report on this, they said that this must be a direct result of Great Tame campaigning for Gaza. I kid you not. Uh, because she was using the phrase globalize the intifada. She said, Sky News said that donors to the Great Tame Foundation were pulling out. I somehow doubt that. I don't think that would have had anything to do with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think so either, man.
Okay, now just related again to child abuse, because remember that's Great Tame's claim to fame, I guess. The ACT's Child Protection Agency, they have examined records to confirm that the human rights advocate Vanessa Turnbull Roberts never made an official report about child exploitation, sex exploitation, a discovery that may help to resolve more than a year of controversy over her evidence to the Parliament that Indigenous children in the Territory were being sex trafficked across state lines. Okay, so Vanessa Turnbull Roberts, she was the ACT Commissioner for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and young people. She appeared before the Legislative Assembly's Social Policy Committee in February last year and said, "We are seeing horrific issues of child sexual exploitation in the Territory, such as being sexually trafficked from one jurisdiction to another." And when she was asked if she had made reports to police about that, she said, yes, absolutely. Well, as we found now, they've been digging through all of those records, and she didn't make a single report. Now, I'm sure what she is saying is true, because we know that this is just what Aboriginal people do.
Yeah.
Although it would be much more likely in the Northern Territory or here in WA for that kind of thing to be happening. Nonetheless, this is a person who was the commissioner for Aboriginal people in the ACT, basically. You'd think it would be incumbent on her to make such reporting, but she failed to do it. Which again makes you have to question the whole Aboriginal industrial complex. Are these
Yeah,
people
again,
are they just there for plum jobs that offer high salaries for these bureaucratic roles?
I was gonna say, like, and also, is this like a part of like some greater system where it's just like, yeah, we the numbers are bad, but like they're actually worse. Like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone involved in the institution from bottom to top would actually tell you exactly how bad it is. I don't even think a beat cop in on the Territory would actually even tell you truthfully about how bad it really is. But yeah, I don't know. I think conspiratorially sometimes.
But I see this and I'm just like, okay, this is a person who likes to virtue signal, uh, is happy to take on a very plum job in government that pays very well. If you're a commissioner, you earn a shit ton of money. But she's actually not doing her job. She's not doing like one very basic thing, which is reporting sex trafficking to the police, even though, according to her, there's like an epidemic of it. Okay. Peter Dutton. So he has been keeping a very low profile ever since losing his seat of Dixon and, of course, losing the election. So he has been appointed to the board of Queensland Investment Corporation. And that appointment was made by the LNP government, David Crisafulli's government. So he's sort of been thrown a lifeline here. I'm sure that's a pretty cushy position that pays well, speaking of those kind of government jobs. So Queensland Investment Corporation is Queensland's state-owned investment manager with more than $135 billion in assets under management. Oh, that's state-owned. Sounds a bit Chinese. Okay. Last story. Yes, greyhounds again. So Tasmania's upper house will vote this week on whether to ban greyhound racing by June 2029. So far, they have put forth a $4.8 million compensation package to help those involved in the industry transition away from it. Uh, they're saying that that amount is nowhere near enough. So they're obviously lobbying Tasmanian MPs to reject this, at least until they have a larger amount in compensation. Um, I don't know. I don't know about the figures, but I definitely support phasing out greyhound racing.
Oh
As
yeah,
we've
no,
said,
I definitely see it. I mean, I was actually talking to the boss man recently about one of the comments you said, like, oh, like, are you noticing more greyhounds around recently? And obviously, I currently don't have a dog, mostly because my house is actually very small. The housing market for you. But my boss does, and I was like, hey, just a little something like in mind, because this was I asked him this on was it Friday last week or something. Sometime I was like, hey, next time you're at the dog park, tell me if you notice any like a higher number of greyhounds. And he was just like, I don't think I've ever seen a single greyhound at the dog park. Like, I don't think I've seen one. And he comes back over the weekend. He was like, no, you're actually right. There is a shit ton of greyhounds.
yeah, once you keep your eye out for them, yeah, you'll definitely notice them. Um, but I mean, it's a good thing though. That means people are adopting them, and I'm
Yeah.
sure giving them a much better life than what they previously had.
Yeah, no, I once knew a guy. I know it's not like a racing greyhound, but I know that they still actually race this type of greyhound. You know, the Italian greyhound.
Yeah.
They kind of like a small one. I know a guy that like had one of those, and my God, that thing got nervous. It used to work itself up into such a frenzy that it would damage its tail.
Oh wow. No, they're nice dogs. I think they're like extraordinarily scrawny, but I guess that's how they were bred to be like that.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this show. Uh, yeah. Thank you for listening. You're still doing Peng, Nolsey? Is that sort of on the back burner now?
Yeah, no, it's on the back burner just because I like I got a more serious salaried position, which is more demanding. So and also on the weekends, I'm trying to actually get this like whip my house back into shape. So I've been doing some stuff that I've been putting off for about like a year now.
Oh,
That and cohabitating with a very very lazy woman, so I have to clean up after all the time. That is totally how that's breaking down. No, no, I still do. I still do it. I'm still fundraising. I don't know. I'll still
for
be
what?
fundraising for Ryan because still be fundraising for Ryan. I paid him out on the end of March, which was like my last stream, I believe. But yeah, no, it's not much. That's because I don't e-beg because I don't need to e-beg. So yeah. So I'll still be fundraising for him, but I don't know, like a lot of people can even fucking Rand complained about this. A lot of people are realizing that like the streaming scene is completely and utterly fucking disappearing. Audiences are like going down across the board.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even big names like fucking even actually I won't throw that one out there because that one might get me in a bit of trouble. But yeah, even big names are seeing massive drop offs in their audience, and people are now starting to think like, oh, like was it just all botted? Like Twitch is even having problems with audience retention.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was also just going to mention Telegram. Uh, we were
Yes.
saying this before the show. Like, I've noticed our own channel like dropping off with subscribers, but yeah, apparently a lot of people are just leaving Telegram. So um, I understand a lot of people are spooked because they think the government is looking at their messages and you know That's not exactly paranoia.
No.
Sometimes you may have very good reason to believe the government is doing that.
Look, I use Telegram just because it's actually quite easy to use in terms of like all encrypted chats. Um, we've got like our own personal one, kind of over here. But yeah, Telegram's just easy to use, and a lot of people are still on there. Like a lot of like our guys are still on there. But yeah, no, that's trending downwards.
Yeah, it is. But hey, if you're on Telegram, go give us a like. It's t.me/the_races_war. I'm sure if you just search the racer, you'd find it as well. So, all our other links are at theracer.biz, post, Twitter, everything like that. So yeah, head over there, and we'll see you next week.